Everyone treats summer like it owes you happiness. Long days, pool parties, your best life on a loop. So what does it mean when you feel worse? The summer blues are real. It's why summer is one of the busiest stretches of the year for people starting therapy. Therapy is not only for when you're in crisis. Grow therapy is for all the moments when you decide you want more. More support, more clarity, more tools. Mental health isn't a destination you reach. It's something you build, and Grow makes that easier. Grow connects you with thousands of high-quality licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. The therapist you want takes your insurance on Grow. Grow accepts over 125 insurance plans. Sessions average $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/book now today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/book now. growtherapy.com/book now. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
If your fashion wish list lives rent-free in your brain, you need to be on Poshmark. With Poshmark, you're shopping millions of listings from thousands of closets, each curated by someone with their own style. Vintage finds, designer pieces, and everyday staples all in one place. Search for your favorites or let the discovery come to you. Poshmark makes it easy to find what you actually want to wear at prices that feel like a quiet win. Download the Poshmark app today and use code PODCAST10 when you sign up to get $10 off your first purchase.
Hello, my name's David Seaman, and this is the Three Lions Podcast.
Welcome to the Three Lions Podcast. My name is Russell Osborne. This is an independent England football supporters podcast. I hope I find you well. Regular listeners, you will be aware of this series I've done within the podcast. It's where I take a look back at the most recent World Cup, its moments. And there were a few of them, it has to be said. And I also have a chat with a fan who experienced the tournament in the flesh. And I'm delighted to say that I will be joined very soon by Leicester City fan Daz Thompson. He's going to tell us all about his time in Canada, Mexico and the United States. Yes, all three of them. If you'd like to listen to any of the previous episodes on the World Cup, just search Three Lions Podcast, the World Cup series. Search that on your podcast platform. They should come up. Now, I have been fortunate to speak with some really interesting people on this series. They all recount their memories from 1954 right through to 2022. We've got players, we've got journalists, we've got fans. But before we get there, don't forget, you can follow the show on the socials. Just search Three Lions Podcast. Hit that follow button, or the like, or the subscribe, whatever takes your fancy. Thank you, as always, for your support. So let's get into it. Back on the 13th of June, 2018, at the 68th FIFA Congress in Moscow, it was announced that the joint bid between Canada, Mexico and the USA would be the winner of the 2026 World Cup, the 23rd FIFA World Cup.
So we have a winner for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The member associations of Canada, Mexico and USA have been selected by the FIFA Congress to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Thank you.
This would be a first men's World Cup for Canada, although they had hosted the women's tournament in 2015. Mexico, well, they'd previously hosted it back in 1970 and 1986. And the USA, well, they hosted in 1994. Geographically, this was going to be considerably bigger than the previous tournament in Qatar. It would be fair to say some fans were aggrieved that a country such as the USA were hosting again, whilst we, as a host, we hadn't since 1966. But this joint bid would win with 134 votes against the 65 that voted for Morocco. But their time, well, that's still to come in 2030. And, well, those grievances would continue as the tournament approached. As on the 1st of March 2023, FIFA announced that this tournament would be expanded to accommodate 48 teams, an increase of 16 more than those that had participated in Qatar. Perhaps that's where the disillusionment started? Maybe. It would mean that the group stages would become a little more diluted, with 8 third-placed nations also getting through to the knockouts. We had an extra round of 32. Gianni Infantino, FIFA president, announcing that this World Cup would be 104 Super Bowls within a month.
And the impact will be global because your other leagues, I mean, look at the Super Bowl, which is fantastic, right? It has, 120, 130 million viewers, right? The World Cup has 6 billion viewers.
It's crazy.
So a World Cup is 104 Super Bowls in 1 month.
On the footballing front, England, now with German Thomas Tuchel in charge, having taken over from Gareth Southgate, well, they completed their qualification not only unbeaten, but without conceding a goal in the process. October the 14th, 2025 saw us beat Latvia 5-0 and seal our place at the tournament. To New York, we're on our way. It was now on to who and where we would be playing. Which brings us to the draw. The previous summer of 2025 had seen the USA host the expanded Club World Cup. It was won by Chelsea, and in the lead up to this, we had seen an uncomfortable to watch friendship of sorts unfolding between Gianni Infantino and the American president Donald Trump. They were both seen in the Oval Office showing off the new trophy for that Club World Cup. Infantino later on would be seen wearing one of those famous red Trump baseball caps. Now, this relationship continued to be on show at the World Cup draw on the 5th of December 2025. This was held at the Kennedy Center in Washington. Now, there had been a lot of talk in the lead up to it. The inaugural FIFA Peace Prize. It was going to be awarded as part of the event. The general consensus was that the recipient would be Trump. And lo and behold, he was awarded the trophy and a medal as well, the lucky boy. He proudly put that on around his neck himself. But the Peace Prize, well, it has been mocked ever since, especially following Trump's interference with the likes of Venezuela and Iran, threatening the likes of Canada and Greenland, and landing tariffs on a considerable amount of countries, many of whom were involved in the World Cup. On the 8th of December, FIFA introduced another innovation, the hydration break. Of course, the previous Qatar tournament had moved to the cooler winter time. In 2026, the tournament reverted to its traditional European summertime, but it meant that it would be during the warmer North American weather. So to combat this, FIFA brought in the hydration break. This would be regardless of where the game was being played, be it USA, Canada or Mexico. Whether it was chucking down with rain, whether it was cool, whether it was cloudy, whether the stadium had a roof. All games would feature a 3-minute drinks break in each half. FIFA said this measure was being introduced to prioritise player welfare. Of course, with American broadcasting, this was seen as an opportunity for broadcasters to cut to an advertising break. In fairness to ITV, the UK's commercial broadcaster, they stayed with the action, if watching the managers speak with the players could be considered action. But what it actually resembled now was a football match not of two halves, but one of 4 quarters, something this World Cup will probably be remembered for. Then there was the cost of tickets. Before the draw was made, there was an initial round of sales in the form of a ballot. This is when ticket prices became a discussion point of sorts. But once we knew our dates, our opponents and venues at that draw, fans could apply for specific tickets. And it was now that the outrage began. From an England point of view, a Category 3 supporter value ticket against Croatia in Dallas was $265, £198. Ghana in Boston and Panama in New Jersey, both $220, £164. All these for just 8% of the stadium capacity. And of course, categories 2 and 1 were significantly higher. And as you would expect, well, eyes began to look towards the cost of a ticket for the final, should we get there. Category 3, $4,185. Category 2, $5,575. And Category 1, $8,680. Whatever teams made it to the final, for fans to take in every game in pounds, you were looking at roughly 5,000. Now add on your flights, accommodation, your daily living, the realisation of costs were beginning to kick home. And for the first time, FIFA used the American model of dynamic pricing, where prices increase with demand. This is where fans could resell their tickets for more than face value. And of course, FIFA would take their percentage cut. There soon became stories of final tickets costing in the region of $11,000. Outrage is an understatement. And this is one thing the mainstream media did like to highlight. And FIFA, well, they took some notice. They introduced a small number of affordable tickets priced at $60, roughly 45 quid. However, there were only about 400 of these per game. It was a hollow token gesture by FIFA, but it did mean that some of the most loyal fans saved themselves thousands in ticket purchases. And with regards to the prices of tickets, there was talk that some games wouldn't be in as much in demand, like the previous year's Club World Cup. But in the tournament's defence, the vast majority were well attended. And the announcements could be heard as saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a full house." And to jump forward for a moment, on the 24th of April 2026, Sky News were reporting that 4 tickets for the final on the 19th of July at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey were on sale on FIFA's official exchange website for $2,299,998.85. That's 1.7 million Great British pounds. 15% of that would go to FIFA. Whether those tickets actually sold, I don't know. But it left a very sour taste. This in comparison to tickets for the 2022 Qatar World Cup group stage, Category 3 seats, well, they were £68.50. Whilst the FSA, the Football Supporters Association, and the Football Supporters Europe were vocal in calling these prices out, our own FA were very noticeably silent. But from March 2025 onwards, teams were beginning to qualify for the finals. In June 2025, though, President Donald Trump signed off a travel ban that restricted the entry of travellers from 12 countries. This would come into force on the 1st of January 2026. However, two of those nations, Iran and Haiti, were participating at the World Cup, both with full restrictions. And then with partial restrictions applying to both the Ivory Coast and Senegal. The hoops those fans would have to jump through were incredible. Appointments at embassies just to be told they couldn't attend. And in order to travel to the United States from England, visitors, they would require an ESTA, an electronic system for travel authorisation. Means you can stay there for a period of 90 days without a visa. Generally a formality, although for those with previous convictions, they too may have to jump through a few hoops. Early December, though, the American government added to this condition of entry. 5 years social media history would be scrutinised. Trump saying, "We just want people to come here and be safe. We want safety. We want security. We want to make sure we're not letting the wrong people come enter our country." This then got people trawling through their socials, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, looking at what they'd previously typed and put out into the digital world. However, it was events that followed on the 7th of January in Minneapolis when Renee Good was shot dead whilst in her car by American immigration or customs enforcement officers, ICE agents. This caused outrage across the world and was followed by the killing of intensive care nurse Alex Pretty, again in Minneapolis. Fans were asking the question, would they be safe? Thankfully, the tournament went off trouble-free. There was talk of boycotts online and by high-profile people within the game and media, but in truth, it was far too late for anything like that to happen. I mentioned about Iran being one of those countries that Trump put travel restrictions on. Well, Iran qualified for the tournament in March of 2025. And less than a year later, on the 28th of February, both the US and Israel launched attacks on Iran. This was the first time that a World Cup host nation had attacked one of its participating nations. It escalated somewhat with major infrastructure damage and the loss of many innocent lives. And even at the time of recording this post-World Cup, it is still a war, despite talks of ceasefires. Iran was scheduled to play 2 of their matches in California and 1 in Seattle. They requested that they play their matches in Mexico, which FIFA rejected. But to make matters worse, Trump then posted on March the 12th on his own Truth Social platform, "The Iran national soccer team is welcome to the World Cup, but I really don't believe it is appropriate that they be there for their own life and safety. Thank you for your attention to this matter." He then went a step further in late May when he announced that Iran wouldn't be able to stay in the country during the tournament. The Iranians had to find a new base just within the Mexican border, and they would have to fly in and out immediately before and after games. Do I need to mention the Peace Prize again? Then, on the 8th of June, officials at Miami International Airport, they denied entry to Somalian referee Omar Artan. He was due to referee at the tournament. Somalia, they too were one of the nations on Donald Trump's banned countries list. Gianni Infantino, despite being in Trump's pocket, well, he just wouldn't pressure the authorities to gain him access. I could continue. To be honest, there were various other moments that clouded the run-up to the tournament, but I think it's about time we looked at it, as I've done previously.
Hey, I'm running out to drop off a stack of letters and packages. Need anything shipped while I'm gone?
Save the gas. Stamps.com lets you print postage and schedule pickups right from your desk. Sync your contacts into the address book, get detailed accounting insights, and get notified the moment your certified mail is delivered.
All from my desk?
All from your desk.
Join the 4 million businesses using Stamps.com right now with code PODCAST and get your free welcome gift. Stamps.com, code PODCAST. Taxes and fees apply.
There are many defining moments of a World Cup. The logo this year, well, it was a fairly basic affair. A 2 above a 6 with a famous World Cup trophy upon it. But what was clever about it was that each host city, and there were 16 of them across the 3 countries, identified themselves with the logo, but in different colours. Shakira would once again provide the soundtrack, just as she did back in 2010, but this time with Burna Boy and her track Die Die, which was played each time the teams came out of the tunnel. Back home, as we crowded around the TV in the late afternoon, early evening, or the very early hours, ITV took the plaudits with their Manhattan skyline set. The Statue of Liberty just over Mark Bugach's shoulder, and he was regularly joined by the likes of Roy Keane, Gary Neville and Ian Wright. And it was ITV's intro that will probably be remembered by many. A camper van doing a road trip across the States to the soundtrack of country artist Rascal Flatts. And he recorded Life is a Highway, originally by Tom Cochrane. Many will probably remember it from Disney's Cars. The BBC, they decided to stay home in Salford, covering from a green screen studio with the likes of Wayne Rooney and Joe Hart accompanying Mark Chapman, Gabby Logan and Kelly Cates. Their intro, a montage looking back through the ages. Whilst ITV looked great, come the final numbers, the BBC enjoyed an average audience of 9.7 million, ITV recording 2.4. according to the Digital Eye agency. England had flown out to the States early. There were to be no home friendlies for the fans to see them off. They were played in March. Disappointing games against Uruguay and Japan. But the plan was to acclimatise in Florida with a couple of games against New Zealand and Costa Rica. Thomas Tuchel had already raised eyebrows with his squad selection. There was no room for Trent Alexander-Arnold, Cole Palmer or Phil Foden. Although admittedly the latter two were clearly out of form in the back end of the season. But his 26 to go to the tournament and hopefully end those 60 years of hurt were as follows. 3 goalkeepers, Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson and James Trafford. Defenders, Dan Burn, Mark Gahey, Reece James, Ezri Konsa, Nico O'Reilly, Jarell Quansah, Jed Spence, John Stones, Trevor Chalobah. Now he replaced Tino Livramento, who went home injured on the eve of the tournament. In midfield, we had Elliot Anderson, Jude Bellingham, Eberechi Eze, Jordan Henderson, Kobe Mainu, Declan Rice and Morgan Rogers. And up front, Anthony Gordon, Harry Kane, Noni Madueke, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins. Now when the tournament did begin on the 11th of June, it was host nation Mexico taking on South Africa at the iconic Azteca Stadium, winning 2-0. In fact, this was the same fixture that was played in 2010 as the opening match. But this time, the Brazilian referee would send off 3 players, 2 for the South Africans and 1 for Mexico. The following day, Canada drew with Bosnia and Herzegovina 1-1. This would be Canada's first ever point at a World Cup. And then the United States would beat Paraguay 4-1. So all in all, a great start for all 3 hosts. And they would all progress through their groups and make it to the round of 16. To be honest though, the group stages weren't particularly exciting. With 8 of those third place teams making it through, there wasn't too much jeopardy. England would beat Croatia 4-2 after a topsy-turvy first half. They then came out in the second half with a completely different attitude, scoring 2 more. Ghana next was a goalless affair in Boston. Then came a 2-0 win over Panama. 2 second half goals from Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham. Germany would beat Curacao 7-1. Cape Verde would hold Spain to a 0-0 draw. Both France and Argentina topped their group with a maximum 9 points. Iran, having been told they couldn't stay in the United States after each of their games, would draw all 3 of their games and just miss out on a 3rd place spot by their lack of goals scored. Qatar, Haiti, Curacao, Jordan, Uzbekistan and Panama would all finish bottom of their groups. The latter, Panama, lost all 3 and didn't score any. Whilst FIFA will put a positive spin on the tournament, other than Cape Verde, none of the real smaller nations really stood out. Probably the first shock was Germany losing a penalty shootout for the first time at a World Cup. This at the hands of Paraguay. But it was probably the first major moment where VAR intervened. Germany having a Jonathan Tah goal chalked off, supposedly for a foul on the Paraguayan goalkeeper. Clearly wasn't. England would come through their game against DR Congo despite going a goal down early in the first half. Harry Kane saved us with 2 second half goals. But the game of the round belonged to Argentina and Cape Verde, the African side taking the holders to extra time. They would eventually lose to a late own goal. But this wouldn't be the last time Argentina was seen clinging on. There then came a moment in the United States victory over Bosnia that would tarnish the tournament. The Americans would win 2-0, but had one of their goal scorers, Folarin Balogun, dismissed for what was a harsh red card. But under the rules, the referee had issued it. It came with an automatic 1-game suspension. It would mean he would miss their round of 16 match. That was until President Donald Trump stuck his oar in. He openly admitted that he spoke with Gianni Infantino to reverse the decision. Once again, fans had reason to call into question the relationship between Infantino and Trump and how it was affecting the tournament.
Yeah, I did. I spoke to Johnny, who's highly respected. So I saw the play, and I'm a person that loves sports and was a good athlete. And that wasn't a foul. That wasn't even an infraction. That was 2 guys running full speed that happened to crash into each other. You can't take your foot and properly place it on somebody else's foot when you're going, no, these were 2 great athletes that got tangled up. And this referee, who is a little bit suspect, if you check his past, he made a call that nobody could believe. You know, even people on the other side, they say, oh, we got lucky. Wow, and it's very interesting. They say they don't show them in slow motion. And I never realized that. I never heard of that before. That they're not allowed to review in slow motion because it's so different. Because you'll take 1 little quarter of a second and you'll see that a hand is touching a neck or you see something. And he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. I said, boy, that's a big, if it happened to another player, it would have been unfair. But when they take your best player, or just about, they have some great players, and they say you can't play, that's very unfair. That's, it's one thing to penalize somebody for the game, but how do you penalize them for a game that hasn't been played yet? It's very unfair. You can't do that. So, yes, I asked for a review by FIFA. I spoke to a man who's highly respected, and by the way, whose level of respect has gone up tenfold. And he was good before this started, but, he really pushed it in this country. I'm the one that got them to do it. It was not Biden. Biden was asleep.
Justifiably, though, the Americans were beaten by Belgium in that round of 16 match. England, though, had been paired with Mexico at the Azteca, a match every fan of both sides knew was a possibility when the draw was made. There was talk of altitude. There was talk of Mexico only having lost 2 competitive games there. There was talk of the intimidating crowd. But it was the days before it where the drama started to unfold. A storm was forecast, which led to FIFA having discussions about moving the game, bringing it forward to avoid the storm. In the end, the game took place an hour later than it was scheduled because of the heavy rain. I say put forward an hour. For those of us watching back home, kick-off was now 2 a.m. But it will go down as one of England's and Jude Bellingham's all-time greatest games. 2 first-half goals in the space of 90 seconds saw us go ahead. Mexico would pull one back before half-time. The second half came and Jarell Quansah was dismissed. England were down to 10 men. Of course, there would be talk about getting him reinstated, just as Trump had done for Balogun. But of course, his ban stood. Harry Kane would score from the spot to make it 3-1 before Mexico, they too, would score from the spot, setting up a feverish end to the game that England saw out. And the fans back home went home just as the sun was coming up. England were into the quarter-finals. But just before this game, Norway, who had quietly gone about their first tournament since 1994, well, they had put Brazil out. 2 of the favourites, France and Spain, both won by a 0-0. They too to make it to the quarter-finals. But it was Argentina's game with Egypt that had fans questioning the legitimacy of the refereeing. Egypt were already 1-up when they scored what would have been one of the goals of the tournament, only for that to be deducted due to a foul in the early process of play that was just outside of the Egyptian 18-yard box. They would go on to score a second before Argentina scored 3 late goals. The quarterfinals came around and England were drawn with Norway and Erling Haaland in Miami. Once again, we would go behind. Norway would surely rue some of the opportunities they had, but once again Jude Bellingham dragged us through with 2 goals in a game that went to extra time. France would see off Morocco, Spain would beat Belgium, and Argentina needed extra time to beat Switzerland. None really living long in the memory. So we had a semi-final pairing of France against Spain and England against Argentina. Some felt this was the ideal FIFA scenario, one that they'd been secretly crossing their fingers for. Spain would beat France 2-0 in a game where the French never really turned up for. So the winners of England and Argentina knew who their final opponents would be. In a game predictably littered with fouls, many by the South Americans, England's Anthony Gordon, who had only just signed for Barcelona shortly before the tournament began, opened the scoring in the second half. Could England beat the side that had put us out twice before? The short answer is no. England retreated, and again, 2 late Argentine goals put them through to the final. Thomas Tuchel would be questioned by both fans and the media. Could Argentina retain the trophy they won in 2022? Before we were to find that out, there was the third place match to take place. One that generally no one really cares for, even the players. But England and France played out an all-attacking, no-pressure, entertaining game with 10 goals shared. England winning 6-4. But the final is the one people will remember. Or more so the winners. In this case, Spain, winning it for the second time, following their victory in 2010. Ferran Torres with his extra time goal. This played at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And it was a game that brought with it FIFA's first World Cup halftime show, curated by Coldplay's Chris Martin. Featured the likes of Madonna, Justin Bieber, BTS and the Muppets. Lasting 27 minutes, it broke FIFA's very own rules of a half-time being only 15 minutes. Safe to say it wasn't enjoyed by everyone.
I'll be honest, man, was when I finished. I like a lot of the matches, but I thought it was crap.
So miserable.
That's it, obviously.
Tell you what else you get on the BBC.
Of course, there was so much more to the World Cup than what I've just mentioned there. But as I did mention at the beginning, was that I'd be joined by someone who was there to experience it all. So I'm delighted to welcome to the Three Lions podcast, Leicester City and England fan, Darren Thompson. Hi, Darren.
Hi, Russell. You okay? Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
No, I'm all good. Thanks for joining us. Is it Darren or is it Daz?
Well, it's either. So call me as you want.
well, welcome along anyway. Welcome along. You've had quite the journey.
I certainly have. I've had a long journey, not just out in the World Cup, but throughout my whole life.
Well, I mean that's a story that you've covered in plenty of places. But for people that maybe haven't heard that, just give us a brief outline of how we've come to this and how the World Cup came about.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I started drinking at a very young age. I was 11, to be honest. And I had a good upbringing. I just seemed to get the taste for drink, and I was going into the pubs at a young age, as you sort of did in the 80s. I'm 54 now. So yeah, loved the pub scene, loved the nightclub scene, and that took me all through my life, really. I also work in sales, so I was travelling a lot, staying in hotels. What's the first thing you do in a hotel? Is go to the bar. I was taking clients out, customers, suppliers, and drinking every day. And then the weekend had come round and my mates would be ready to go out on a Thursday night, and so would I, but I'd already been out every night that week. So I did this for probably getting on 35, 40 years. And unfortunately, I didn't realise what I was doing to myself, but drink really got a grip of me, and I ended up an alcoholic. I was craving alcohol 24/7, and I class myself as a functioning alcoholic. I never drunk or drove, but I always planned my day about where my next drink was coming from. And to cut a long story short, I had a divorce, which really affected me emotionally, with my two boys who I adore. I lived on my own in a flat for 2 years and drank myself stupid every night, to be honest. I then got with a new partner who I've since married, and she recognised that I was a big drinker, but she wanted to get me help, and seeing that there was a good person there. And after finding me in all kinds of states, I did really hit rock bottom with depression, and she was finding me in laying in the street and all sorts. I completely passed out once. She got me into hospital. I got rushed into hospital. I was unconscious, and And when they did a lot of tests and that on me, they realised that my liver was completely shot, which doesn't surprise me now, looking back of all the volumes that I put down it over that amount of time. So I basically got looked in the eye by the consultant, and I know how serious he was because it frightened me. He said, if you carry on drinking the volumes you're drinking, you're not going to be here in 6 months. So that was a massive wake-up call for my family, who were trying their best to support me. The next 2 months, I did actually go in complete denial. Lisa tried to get me into rehab 4 occasions, and I just kept refusing it. I couldn't put myself through it. But in the end, we had an agreement that if I could drink a bottle of gin on the way there, I'd go. So I went in February the 24th, 2023. Came out of there on a Friday. It's typical, just ready for the weekend. I remember somebody had told me the night I come out of rehab to go to an AA class. And that's exactly what I did. And I carried on going to AA classes for 3 or 4 times a week, and for a few years. And I still have help. I'm still in recovery. I do sober Zoom meetings in various groups, which still helps me because I still have to keep my feet on the ground, so I don't find it too easy. And that's where I am today. I'm 3.5, just coming up to 3.5 years sober. So it's been quite a journey. I wake up every morning saying to myself, I've got through another day, but I've got to get through today. And that's how I am every day. It just completely took over my life, and I thought I was doing the right thing. Being social and with my job and everything.
Well, what I should say is congratulations. I think to see that step, to go forward and get married and stop and sort of reevaluate everything. So yeah, massive congratulations. But I mean, as well, the story sort of continued or twisted, didn't it, by the fact that the World Cup was coming, and you've managed to sort of turn all that negativity into a positivity with England, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So just before I move on to my story with England, I have completely turned my life around. I've lost 3 stone in weight. I play over 50s walking football, which I hadn't played football for 25 years. I run my youngest lads football team, coaching, and I've had a promotion with work, and I've got married. So yeah, I've done all that since I've climbed the 3 peaks as well: Ben Nevis, Snowdon, and Scafell Pike. So, but going to the England story, it was always my dream. In 1982, I was 10 years of age, and I was watching. I remember I was actually fishing, and I wanted to get home to watch England play on the telly. And I remember seeing the atmosphere at the ground, and I thought, oh, this is amazing. I'd absolutely love to do this one day. Go to a World Cup when you're sort of on holiday. Obviously, I was thinking about beer at the time. It must be great to be drinking beer, having a holiday and having football, which I love, all at the same time. So that was always my dream. And when I come out of rehab, I had to set myself a goal, which is like I've always done in my life with, regarding work and things like that. So my goal was, I seen that there was a World Cup coming up in America, Canada and Mexico. I knew it was going to be expensive, but I thought I'm going to do my boy a dream. So I saved. I'm not rich, I'm a normal person. I saved £150 a week, which I thought approximately I probably spent that on alcohol, and saved that up for 3 years.
Yeah.
And couldn't believe how much money that I was actually saving. I started going to all the England games at Wembley, the qualifiers and the friendlies, to build my caps up, which I enjoyed. It was hard work sometimes, going to some of them games.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
Traveling down and parking up and getting back late and getting up early and queuing up and whatever. But I enjoyed it, and I knew I had to do it if I wanted to guarantee myself some tickets. So I built myself the caps up, and when the tickets went on sale, I thought to myself, I can't believe how expensive this is. I must be mad. But I feel as if they've tricked everybody a little bit, FIFA, because I'll be frank with you. I spent £9,000 on a ticket for every England game. I managed to. I was successful. I got the tickets. Transfer.
Sorry, is that 9,000 total for all? What's it? 8 games.
Yeah. So it was $12,000. So it was about, I don't know, 9,000, whatever. So yeah, I parted with £9,000 English, and that was for every England game right up until the World Cup final that they'd play. The groups, the round 32, the 16, quarter, semi-final and the final. It didn't include the third and fourth place. I didn't apply for that, to be honest, because I thought it'd be a nothing game, but what do I know? Ended up missing 10 goals. So I got the money, obviously spent it, and I was aware that I do get a refund if they get eliminated. So my final ticket out of the 9,000 was £4,500. So I'm due £4,500 back out of the 9,000. So when I look at it now, I think to myself, it was £4,500, which is still a hell of a lot of money. But I feel as if they've tricked you into thinking that it's a bargain now. I feel as if I've got a bargain because I know people that have spent like $2,000, $2 or $3,000 on a ticket. So, and even in the early stages, people were spending £1,000. So just say one of my group games was £350, which is absolutely shocking. I'm now thinking to myself, that weren't that bad. And that's how they've tricked you.
Yeah, the FIFA have twisted all our minds, haven't they, in one way, shape, or another? I'm just hoping that it's not going to be like this for the next one, but we'll have to just wait and see. Getting your tickets, you must have been really excited then, because was this your first World Cup?
Yeah, well, I do go to through my life. I have been to the odd. I've been to a lot of England games. My highlights was I did go to the last game at the old Wembley against Germany when the last one there. I think they actually got beat that day. I also went to a couple of games in France. I went to the England and Russia game, which sticks in my mind. That was pretty scary. That was.
Oh, in the Euros,
yeah. I was there that day, and it was pretty frightening. I seen a lot of Russian fans in the morning walking around in black tops, and I thought they must be on a stag weekend or something, all dressed up the rest. I didn't realise it was the Russian mafia that wanted to kill us, and it was frightening that day. You'd got like French people, Albanians, and obviously the Russians, and they were just after the English. I even got tear gas that day in a bar later on that night. So I've got some
war wounds.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was lucky enough to go to the England and Holland semi-final in Dortmund in the last Euros. Now that I was sober then, and I actually, I can't believe that I'm doing things like this. Me and my mate went to that. We got a ticket. I literally got in the car from Hinckley in Leicestershire, where I live, and we drove all the way to Germany across five different countries altogether. And that, I could never have done that, obviously, if I was drinking. So, and I loved it. I absolutely loved that trip. We stopped over on the way there in Belgium, but on the way back, I drove it all the way through. I think it was about 12 hour drive, but that was an amazing night. That was in Dortmund. Yeah.
Go on, so take us to the States. I mean, what were your highlights? Because it was a tournament that I personally think went on longer for England than I anticipated.
Yeah, so I've got so many highlights. So I did the trip. My wife came with me for the first 2 weeks. So we planned it and we blitzed so much touristy stuff.
Yeah.
But the highlights for the football was I thought the Croatia game was absolutely amazing. The stadium in Dallas, the place, the weather, the people. It was the best you could ask for going to a World Cup game. And what a game it was as well.
Absolutely.
And we did a baseball match on the night before, the night before I did my first sort of ever baseball game I'd been to, and that was in a fantastic arena as well. And what I remember of that is just watching all the locals, and I didn't have a clue what was going on in the baseball, but there was England fans there, and everybody was enjoying it. And I ordered a hot dog and I ended up with a 3-foot hot dog somehow. and it was 3 foot. It was amazing. And then to go to that game the following day was just incredible. Yeah, I loved it. I loved the stadium. It was, an air conditioned stadium. I do like the old school stadiums as well in football, yeah. But that was a different world. That was. It was like something that arrived from space. It was amazing.
How did you find the Americans about watching the game and all this influx of English?
Yeah, it was pretty. It was amazing, to be honest. I got to the ground. I knew there was going to be a few thousand England fans, and I knew a few fans that were there from Leicester. So we was mixing with them before the game, and then when I got in the ground, all these people around us were all talking American with England tops on, and I couldn't work it out. I started talking to a few, and some of them obviously live over there now, but there was a general support for England, even though the USA was still in the competition. They seemed more interested in England, what I could notice, and there was a lot of other nationalities there as well supporting England. Going back to the highlights, and the other two are obviously Mexico,
yes,
winning in one of the host nations, especially at the Azteca. We've all got memories of that. That was unbelievable, and I've never seen rain like it. It wasn't covered where we were.
This is one of those old school grounds that you mentioned, isn't it? Sort of in a way.
Yeah, and I loved it. Yeah, I loved that as well. It was really old school. And in fact, I was talking to somebody who was there in I think it was 86, and he said the concourse and everything hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same.
Really?
Yeah. That was amazing. That was, and then they're the two main games that stick out for me. I really, although the game wasn't so good, I really enjoyed the Ghana game. Their fans were fantastic. They were such a laugh. I've got loads of photographs of me with the Ghana fans and dancing with them, and they were brilliant. I really liked my time with them.
Because the tournament, as in the lead up to it, there was a lot of sort of negativity about various things. We've mentioned the pricing and of tickets and all that, but on the whole, what your experiences were more positive?
I've got to be honest, Russell. I couldn't have gone to a better tournament. It was well organised. It was friendly. I've seen a few incidents. It was organised. It was friendly. The weather was good most of the time.
Yeah.
It was just it was paradise for me, because I was on holiday and I'd got the football as well. It was, but the organisation and the American people, we all have view of the Americans. They made us so welcome. That they were absolutely great. I thought the Americans and the organisation was first class.
Yeah. Obviously, we've got to mention the Argentina game. I mean, what was your feelings going into that? Did you think, like, based on England's performances so far, did you think we stood a chance?
All right. Do we have to talk about that?
Oh, go on.
No, I'll give you my opinion.
Yeah.
I went into that game and I thought to myself, I'm quietly confident. Argentina had a few scrapes in this tournament.
Yes.
And I went into this game and I was thinking, we're going to do this. We haven't played that brilliant for a complete match. And I thought this is going to be the night where we're going to have a complete performance and we're going to win. And the first half, that went to plan. I thought we played really well in the first half. I thought there was played some great football, some great performances. And then the second half, come out, feeling optimistic. I did think this could go to extra time or penalties, but they got the goal, and I'm thinking to myself, my boyhood dream is not only happening, it's going to go one step further. And I didn't think, when we got in the lead, I thought there's no way that we're going to chuck this away because we defended well in the first two games. And when we played Croatia, we went and attacked on and got a 2-goal cushion. So I was really optimistic. And then obviously we know what happened. We changed things around and sat back. Now, I'm a massive Leicester fan, and I've seen us doing that over the last few years, and look where we've ended up.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So I'm thinking, oh no, don't sit back and invite it, because I know what's coming. And then a bit of me was thinking, no, but we've got a better team than what Leicester have. And I'm thinking, a glimmer of hope, these guys will hold on to it. And then we let them attack. Messi got involved in the game. He loved what we'd done. That was exactly what they wanted. And and they pipped us at the end. And I hate to say it, but I think they probably deserved it in the end.
Yeah. Gives us another chance in another 4 years to have another go at it. But I mean, going off the field, 5.5 weeks over in the States. I mean, you said about being like sightseeing as having like a holiday as well. What did you see there? What experiences did you have away from the football?
Well, the trip was just amazing, really. So start like I said, I went to a Dallas baseball game, went to the big match, and then we went to the Dallas studios where Dallas the series was filmed. I don't know, a lot of younger people won't know about that, but it brings back a lot of memories, wasn't it? Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories for me. I know my mum used to watch it and stuff, so that was nice to have a look around there. And then we went to Graceland, where we went seeing Elvis's mansion. That was fantastic. And then we went to Nashville with the music scene. Wow, what a place that was! It was incredible. All the music scenes and the nightlife and the bars and restaurants. It was an eye opener. And then I did a ridiculous drive to Niagara Falls, and so I'm glad I went to Canada as well. Although we didn't have a game there, but I drove all the way up to Niagara Falls, and I've got. I don't know whether I can paint this setting now, but this was paradise as well. So we were sat there in a fan zone. The sun was out. We've got big screens all around us. Everybody was having a drink. I enjoyed drinking what I was drinking. And watching Spain play on the telly, looked over to your left, and there was Niagara Falls. Oh. What a place to have as fan zone. That was fantastic. So, and then we drove to Boston, went whale watching just on the coast off Boston. That was an amazing experience as well. I've never done that before. Went to Salem Witches, where the witches are, which is quite famous. Went to a place called Rockport and Gloucester and Marblehead. They're all beautiful places. And then obviously went to the game, which was up there, although it was only 0-0 against Ghana. And I seen two former Leicester players playing, Fatua and Ayo, Jordan Ayo.
Oh yes, of course.
I thought they're bound to score against us, but they didn't. And then I travelled down to New York, and then, I can't believe what I did in New York. I went round Central Park in a tuk-tuk. I climbed up the actual crown on the Statue of Liberty, right to the top in the crown you could go. Went up the Empire State Buildings. I told my wife we were going to Madison Square Gardens. What I didn't tell her was we were going to watch the Premier League darts.
Oh, right. How was she with that?
She was all right. She watches the darts with us now.
Gotcha.
but that was good. So we were seeing Luke Littler playing, and all the big dart players, and that was full of England fans. And everyone was getting excited because the game was the next day. So that was a great experience. I'm so glad I did that, because I was umming and ahhing about whether to do that. Central Park in a tuk-tuk, and then we walked across Brooklyn Bridge on our 1 year anniversary. So
perfect.
That was nice as well. We did it at sunrise. We got up at 4:00 in the morning and walked across Brooklyn Bridge at sunrise. So that was just perfect. And then Lisa flew home then, and one of my mates, Eddie, and his lad, they flew in for that last game in New York. So I spent the rest of the time with my mate, who's a Leicester fan. So I had best of both worlds, really.
Absolutely.
Time with my wife and time with my mate. So we then ventured down to Atlanta, where my cousin Trudy lives, and she's got a really nice house in Atlanta. It was just south of Atlanta in a place called Fayetteville. And we had a great time there. We knew got to know all the locals in the bars. We were going to American diners. We were having all the traditional American stuff. So yeah, that was Atlanta. Loved it there, and spending time with my cousin. And then we flew to Mexico. You can't believe it, can you? Mexico City for the big match. I didn't really like Mexico City, to be honest. It was I like the old fashioned stadium, but and the majority of the Mexican fans were great. They was even coming up applauding us after the game, but it didn't feel safe there, and there's a couple of incidents that I know that happened, which I didn't really feel that comfortable with. With some of the stories and that I'd heard in Mexico City. So we flew to Cancun, and that was a challenge for me, going to an all-inclusive. We had had 4 days there, all-inclusive in Cancun, which was really, really nice place. And I got through that. I enjoyed it. I didn't drink, and then obviously we'd been to the game, and then it was it goes on and on and on, doesn't it? It was flying to Miami next.
Wow, yeah. I mean, this it's just a road trip that's gonna live long in the memory, isn't it?
Absolutely. It was a dream come true for me, and absolutely more. It couldn't have been a better trip, and it will be with me for the rest of my life. I don't think I'll ever do anything else like that again in my life.
Yeah. I don't want to sound sort of patronising or anything, but like you say, you were in Cancun and it was hard. Were you ever tempted? Have you ever been tempted to sort of get back, like have a drink?
Well, I've been tempted, and in the grounds in America, you can drink in the grounds. So right. I'd got people drinking around me. When we scored, I got covered in beer.
Oh.
But yeah, I just had to get on with it, and I still went out celebrating after. There was a couple of times where I did have to think, this is getting a bit too much for me. I need to go out for a walk.
Yeah,
because drinking with football was what I've done all my life. Kind
of go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, but I'm not anti-drinking. I'm not, I had a great life through it. I'd be two-faced if I said I was anti-drinking, because I love my life through it. Yeah. But a couple of things that I think to myself, I'm not getting up every 5 minutes to go to the loo. I'm not queuing back at home in the concourse 15 minutes before the break to get 3 points in. And I do actually enjoy the game more. You know, I've had incidents, you know, this is embarrassing. I've come back from London with Leicester, and I've had to check my phone the next morning to see what the score was and who scored or how the scores went round.
Yeah.
You know, they're the kind of states I used to get in. I was completely out of control.
I mean, so if someone's listening to this thinking, hang on a minute, that sounds a little bit familiar, what's your tips?
If you want to stop drinking, you've got to want to stop drinking. I had to stop drinking. You know, I get jealous of people that can just go out and have 2 or 3 pints and go to a football match. You know, there's no problem with that. It's when it gets you into trouble, that's when the problems start, and that's where I think you need help. But you know, I've been kicked out of football grounds, and I've had my lads with me. You know, I'm embarrassed about it, and when they turn around to me now and say they're proud of me, you know, that for stopping drinking, that means everything to me. But I've been in embarrassment. So, but there's help out there. There's, you know, I've got an Instagram I'm doing, Daz Thompson 72. If anybody's interested, you know, I know various groups that you can go to speak about addictions, and you know, and there's AA classes around. But if people are fearing that they have got a problem with drink, there's definitely you've got to talk about it, and you've got to seek help, but you've got to want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, I've been following you on Instagram. Some of the videos you put out throughout the tournament were great. Really enjoyed them.
Oh, thank you. I've had a bit of fun with it, but there's a serious side to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, going forward, you're still going to be following England? Are you staying in the in the travel
100%. Club? I've just, since I've got back, I've renewed my membership. I've got a ticket for the Czechoslovakia game coming up, and I believe the Spain ones are on sale on Monday. Looking forward to the Euros. Obviously, it's in the UK, so looking forward to that. And I've got my eye on Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. I want to be there. I've had a good taste for it now. another addiction.
Yeah,
I'm addicted to Leicester. At the end of the day, I watch Leicester home and away. I've got my tickets for Notts County, first game of the season. I can't believe I'm saying that. And I've got a new slogan. I'm going for, no disrespect to Bromley, but I'm off from Miami to Bromley.
Yes. Oh man, I'm Leicester. That's a proper fall from grace, unfortunately, isn't it?
10 years since we won the Premier League.
Yeah,
Can't believe it.
You're there through thick and thin, though.
Absolutely. I wouldn't swap that team for any team. The highs and lows all come together.
Absolutely. Darren, fantastic stories you've got, as I say, memories for life. Go on, tell us that Instagram once again, where we can follow you and see your journey. Okay,
so my Instagram's Daz Thompson. That's DAZ Thompson. With a P, 72. If you Google Darren Thompson Hinckley, there's various things that are popping up on there, and I've only sort of been opening up about things the last few months, so I'm trying to grow my profile, and nothing else but for awareness to people. I really feel for people with addictions, because I've been there. You know, it's horrendous when you're craving for something. So if I can help anybody, all this means everything to me. So yeah, please follow my Instagram if you're interested. I've got all my story on there, and I'll be doing stuff about only small stuff about Leicester on there with the weekends and that coming up, and just a few words about them and England and generally my life and how it's changed.
Absolutely. No, amazing stuff. Once again, congratulations to you. Yeah, keep being strong, keep going forwards, and maybe we can say hello at an England game.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks very much for letting me come on the podcast. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Thanks to Daz there. I'm honoured that he shared his story with us. Inspirational. It's clear he had a great time, and I can't and I won't argue with that. But what I will say is, as a viewer back home, I don't think it was the best World Cup I've seen. with the quality of football on show. And obviously it was overshadowed by various other things. VAR, the hydration break. What is it they say? Bigger isn't always better. But that's all down to opinions. But as he said, if you have listened to that and thought his story rings a few bells with yourselves, feel free to get in touch with him. Once again, cheers to Daz and all the best. Thank you as always for tuning in. Always appreciated. Don't forget you can follow the show on social media. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. As I said, this is a series where I've looked at previous tournaments. If you'd like to listen to the others, just search 3 Lions Podcast, the World Cup series on your podcast platform. I'll be back with you very soon with some more England-related content, and I hope you can join me for it. So until then, take care of yourselves. Cheers.